Everybody, and hello everybody. I'm sorry, I heard the beep, so it wasn't recording. So now I can start talking. So, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Foff Describe podcast, where we deal with, amongst other things, art, history, anthropology, academic pursuits, and humanistic subjects. Humanistic and a subject that has to do with the humanities. But today we have something that is much more exciting and germane, I think, to the current state of the market and the world in its current state. And I have with me a great guest to talk about that, Marcy Grossman. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm here in snowy Boston, maybe, but not really.
I'm a financial literacy educator, which means I'm trying to reach as many people as I can and help explain money concepts. And while the book I wrote is US based in many of the concepts and specifics, a lot of basic financial literacy is the same worldwide. So it's exciting to be here in Boston and wherever.
Yes, not anywhere close to the equator, shall we say? No. uh, yes, that's a great opening starter, and if we can talk a little bit about your professional background, why did you get into this field? What drew you in?
So I've been a CPA, a certified public accountant, for over 30 years. And I have worked in public accounting and in private accounting and in nonprofit accounting and dealt with so many people on so many different levels about their finances. And one thing that struck me over the years is whether someone had a lot of education or a little education in general, or whether they had a lot of money or a little money, a lot of the times they just didn't understand some of the basic concepts. And obviously, the more money you have, the more mistakes you can afford to make. But I wanted to reach out and try and expand that financial literacy and make it accessible to people in wherever their starting point was.
Yes, yeah. Sorry I cut you off. Yeah, continue.
No worries. So in 2015, Forbes magazine, which is an American business publication, reported on the first ever global financial literacy survey, and they came up with that overall 60%, or so people were financially illiterate, and they only used 5 relatively basic questions, and you only had to get 3 of the 5 right to be considered financially literate.
Yeah, you should.
Which means this is a worldwide problem.
Yeah, I think it's very encouraging because for the citizenship test, you had to get 8 answers right to become an official, to get the status, to gain your status as a citizen. So it's very encouraging to hear that maybe you got 5 at least right in the financial literacy survey.
Right. I mean, so it's a worldwide problem, and it's something that can be dealt with. There's ways to make it accessible to learn about finances. It might be time consuming to learn about something that you don't necessarily know about, but money impacts all of us in everything we do, no matter where we live. It can only improve our situation to understand more about money.
Yeah, and I know, thank you for the great opening, the prologue for our talk. And I know that a lot of financiers, if that's the right term to use for this, or accountants, or business or hedge fund managers, or whatever those explosive titles in Wall Street and the likes. Um, but actually, when you talk about money, there's a lot of kind of metaphors being used: how to trade money, how to save your money, how to protect it in different differing ways. So, why is that necessary to actually try and mitigate the kind of financial world in simple metaphors?
Well, I mean, metaphors make things more accessible because if you use enough, I do what I do through storytelling a lot. And in my book, I would reference personal stories of things that had happened because it makes it more accessible. If I just talk the dry numbers and the facts and figures, then it becomes something it just feels out of touch. It's not something that's familiar. It's not something that's comfortable. And so using metaphors and stories just gives it another way of being accessible. It becomes something you can understand.
Yeah, and do you think it is kind of beneficial to work with someone uh, when you're working closely with a client on a private matter or that they have? It's a problem or a dilemma. Do I put my money into this or this venture that will eventually, I know it will drop in this snowy year of our Lord in Boston, and I should move my business around under a different IP or for taxing purposes you shouldn't do something like that maybe.
Well, so when you talk about that, you're talking about bigger issues and the complexities, and at that point in time, you do need professional managers of the various aspects of money that are aware of your specific circumstance. The part I'm working for is that general financial literacy. So I'm working with accountants and financial planners to say, hey, share my book so you can give your clients a better basic understanding so that you can help and provide service for them, because you need to have a frame of reference, and an accountant or a financial broker is not going to necessarily be able to step you back to meet you where you are if you don't have any understanding. And so then they'll start managing your money, and you'll talk in the areas that you kind of know or that you kind of understand. But some of the bigger decisions that you make, you may not have that frame of reference and that basic knowledge to know what questions to ask and how to help them best help you.
Yeah, so what are the predominant kind of mistakes or misunderstandings that people have when it comes to um, actually delving or being able to keep books and tax returns and stuff like that, and actually measuring your expenditure as opposed to your pouring? Yeah.
So one of the most common things that I've been speaking about or that people have questions about is budgeting and really spending the time to measure your income versus your expenses, to look at your expenses and see where your money is going. People are afraid because it takes time, and they're intimidated, or they don't want to find what the answer is, and so they'll put that off. But it's a really important tool to start making good decisions, is to know what you have, what you're taking in, and what you're spending out. The mistakes that people make are either not wanting to get involved in it. It's too complex. I'm just going to throw it away, and I know I can pay my minimum bills and whatever else, and it'll all take care of itself, and just kicking the can down the road and down the road, where if they'd have started getting involved actively in it earlier, they could have put themselves in a much better position and made better decisions for whatever their goals are whether it's buying a house or funding retirement or whatever they are. When you have information, you can make good decisions. The other ones are the ones who get so buried in the minutia and in the tiniest things that they're looking at a tree and they can't see the forest, and they can't accept that they're doing well, and that stresses them out because they only see the little things. There are so many decisions that people make regarding their finances, whether it's how you fill out the paperwork when you start a job, or at least here in the United States, the health insurance that you choose every year, with your job based on however many different plans they might offer. These are all things I discuss in my book, and I have my website, and every couple of weeks I try to post something financially interesting to people out there. Again, I try to make all my posts, I try to make my videos and everything accessible to people so it won't be intimidating, because this is something people are all capable of learning. You just have to be willing to step through the door and make the steps and try to gain that basic understanding to take control of your money.
Yeah, so let's imagine for a second that I am a complete pleb, shall we say, or even a gullible Gulliver when it comes to financing and managing my personal wealth, and actually accruing more parsimony for myself, and to leave as little of it to other people or the government. And they want to actually be a healthy consumer and spender. So how do I start to actually look into financial literacy? What are the terms that I need to know to start? What are the sources that I can go to?
Well, of course, I'm going to start with my book and my website because, I wrote them, so I think they're the best.
A great plug, yeah.
Well, I have to, because
you have to. Of course, you have to.
People know. There we go. Oh, I think
Yes.
I'm in reverse there. So, that's available on Amazon. My website is moneymarci.com, MONEYMARCI.com, and
people are so illiterate when it comes to finances that they don't even know how to spell the word money. So that's a problem.
Well, no, it was
that's
my
a problem.
name. Marcy can be spelled 5 different ways. But you have to take a step somewhere. You can go to your library. Chances are your newspaper has a columnist who writes about financial stuff, and you have to read it and know that the first time you're looking at this information, if you've never looked at it before, if this is your very first time stepping in the pool, you're going to be challenged. There's going to be words that's not how you use them before. Not everything is going to make sense, and you might have to go to a dictionary, or you might have to go to another book, or you might have to go to a couple of books, because everyone learns differently and everybody teaches differently. So what I think is accessible in the way I wrote, you might read it and say, boy, Marcy, you seem very nice, but this book doesn't make sense to me. And you'll go read 2 or 3 other books, and one of them is going to be the one that says, oh, now I get it. So you have to be willing to take the time to learn and go in knowing that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be, it's not rocket science, it's not brain surgery, it's not whatever, but anything you don't know how to do, anything that's new, is going to be hard. And as you get more comfortable, as you get more familiar, it'll just make more sense, and it'll be something you can build into your daily decision making on a much more comfortable basis.
Yeah, so what are the kind of top tens, like on the Late Late Show with David Letterman? What are the top tens of finances, shall we say, for someone who is a complete novice?
Well, then I guess I should probably just look at my chapters.
Okay.
because that's really what it went into. It's budgeting.
Please do. It makes
you
it
look at
makes
budgeting.
great television. Yeah.
You look at budgeting, you look at your tax returns. No matter what country you live in, I'm pretty sure there's a tax return of some kind
Yes.
that can show you other claims on your money. Uh, you look at your debt ratio and how much money are you paying for the various things you owe money on. You look at your savings and investing, and you consider the difference between saving and investing. Saving is the shorter term money you're going to need in the near future, and investing is for the things, the larger things that are farther off on the horizon. Um, you may need to become familiar with what your credit score means, how you got there, and how to repair it, because that will affect the price of your debt if you go to buy a car or buy or rent a house. Um, Understanding your investing, what you're investing in, what your investment strategy is. That da, 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 da. Let's see. Employer benefits, I assume, play a part across the world. I don't think that's just a U.S. thing. People understand and get scared of all kinds of money decisions. I don't know if I went. I don't think I got to 10 yet, but
Okay.
I could keep going and everything is money. Almost all decisions we make at some point in time impact money, if not for us, for someone else. And so it's important to get that education. And when something comes up, say, you know what, I don't know what that means, but I think that's related to money. I need to go look and get more information. And be aware that in the internet, anyone can post a website, and that doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. So you need to make sure that your experts truly are experts for what you need.
Yeah. So if I've increased my not enlarged, not increased, enlarged my coffers a bit, and filled them with golden coins or dinars or whatever. And I want to invest a little bit of money, just to play the sport, to play the marketing sport. Um, how can I go about it in a healthy and ultimately beneficial way where I don't lose my pants at the end of the day?
Well, so if we had a crystal ball and I could tell you the one stock to buy, that would be easy. Everything that you invest in comes with a risk tolerance. So theoretically, the higher the risk, the higher the reward, and the longer the time frame, the more likely you are to get the reward rather than the risk from it. Especially if you're buying solid stocks, the market may go up and down, but certain companies and certain types of businesses are going to be there for the long haul, and even if they fall short right now, for the long term they'll be fine. So that would be about the investment strategy. And if it's a small amount, you might be looking at something more like investment mutual funds rather than individual stocks. So it depends on how much money you have to invest, how frequently you'll be putting more money in and adding to it, as to which route you want to go. And then you would be looking at conservative, which means you have less risk, but obviously less potential for big growth, or aggressive, which has higher risk and the higher potential for gain and also for loss.
Yeah.
So those are things you have to assess and think for yourself. Okay, what am I willing to risk? How long is my time horizon?
Yeah, you have to measure those things very carefully. What's the end game in this? How do I find a safe exit? Of course, I don't want to
Right.
go down with a flaming theater, shall we say? but if I want to start actually growing my mindset when it comes to money and actually thinking outside the box of ways of saving a bit here and a bit there that will accrue eventually to a fine and hefty sum that I can safely safeguard for a rainy day such as here in Boston. No, I'm just kidding. But so how can I do that actually to?
So this would be the part where the budgeting comes on. And on my website, I actually have some videos that explain how to work through the worksheets that I have available there that help you really map out what your income is and when it comes in and what your expenses are and when they're going out, and determine what money you come up with that, oh, this is how much I can afford to put away. And it also allows you to look at it because you're going to go fairly granular. This is what I'm spending on my internet fees or my cable TV, or this is what I spend on groceries or whatever. It allows you, the more effort you put into it, the deeper you go on each of those expenses, the more specific information you have. And you might find, oh, I've got this subscription to a magazine I don't read, or I'm paying monthly to a gym I don't get to. And all of a sudden you get free money because you stop that service. And that's money you could invest or use to pay down debt if you find that you're currently in a hole. And so that's typically the best place to start for anything, is spending the time to do that budget. And you do it based on how much you spend that you know, and things that you're projecting out. I find the optimal term to try and do a budget like that is to look at a year, but you're going to break it down into something measurable, like a monthly schedule, to see where you're spending the money, because some of your expenses may only be once a year or twice a year, and other expenses are weekly. So the schedule I have there allows for that, for you to see where your money is going.
So if I would like for you to take me on as a client today, and I would like to hear your 5 cents on my situation, to put your 5 cents in, what can I expect to hear?
Well, first off, it wouldn't be me, because I am focusing as an educator. So if you want my wisdom, sign up at my website. There's no cost, and you can, as I go on people's podcasts, I post the links there so everyone has access to them. Any speaking engagements, any videos that I've put up are all available there, as well as any resource links. But if you were to sit down with someone to do it, it would depend on who you were talking to. If you were talking to an accountant, they might be working on your budget and your overall plan, as well as tax strategies. If you were talking to an investment advisor, they'd be helping you determine your risk tolerance so that they could help you make the best investment decisions. So you want to make sure you're talking to the right professional for the right
reason, yeah,
object you're trying to move forward on. Yes.
Yes, to focus on, exactly, to tailor it to your situation, to measure it. Yeah.
Right.
So if I were to sit in your class, in an online class, or remote or frontal lessons, what tips can I expect to hear that will truly improve my situation when it comes to managing money and actually understanding the financial terms that I get in my mail through the government?
Well, in person typically, or in Zoom, it is spending that time really working on the budgeting worksheet so that you can understand where your money's coming from, where's it going, and the control you have over to adjust that. From there, we do talk about where a tax return and what the numbers on the tax return mean, so you can see how those are related or unrelated to your overall financial situation. It's a matter of, you get all this input from all these different places, whether it's your W-2 or whatever tax statement, depending on how you work, or whether it's just your checkbook and trying to balance it. And it's a matter of putting these pieces together, seeing where they relate, seeing where they don't relate, and just spending that time answering the question and listening to the stories to help people better understand from their own perspective.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to participate and be a guest on my show, on my podcast, rather. And I'm hoping that this has been beneficial and very motivational for people to seek you out, is uh, to participate or to take classes. Um, and I'm hopeful that a lot of people, including me, which which I don't consider myself a professional or expert, of course, in financing and accounting, but I feel it's something that a lot of content creators and in the digital, virtual, um, you know, kind of a celebrity status that every individual now has. Andy Warhol said that everyone one day will have their 15 minutes of fame on TV. Well, we are seeing that day closely approaching. Um, it's just around the corner, where literally everyone will have their 15 minutes of fame. Yeah. So I want to thank you so much, Marcy, and just if I can hear your closing thoughts or statements or something you would like to express.
I just want everyone to know that they are capable of learning how to manage their financial situation and improving it, and not to be afraid to go in and ask questions.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's the greatest thing you can say to a person, to not be afraid to ask questions. Yeah.